Hi, I want to come and do a review on the movie Get Out, which was released last month in February. Written and directed by Jordan Peele. He is one half of the comedy duo Key and Peele. I have never really watched uh, an episode or any of their uh, sketch comedy. I've seen like little bits and pieces when he's like a guest star on a show or an award show, and his humor didn't really appeal to me, so I was on the fence about even seeing this movie. But I am really glad that I did because it is worth the time and the money to see this film. Um, I was hearing controversial reviews about the movie, which further made me hesitant about seeing it. The Washington Post and the New York Times all said great things about it, but sometimes their brand of humor can be a little bit different from people of color, and it was being described as a satirical horror movie, so I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to see that. And then, in horror films, black people, the stereotype is that we die first, so not really knowing what to expect, I wasn't invested at all. But because of some of the reviews that some of my favorite YouTubers have had, I decided to go ahead and see the movie, and I am really, really glad I did. It is so good, and I would encourage anybody who is hesitant about seeing it to go out and support this brother. As I said, he is a half of a duo team, a comedy team, and his name is Jordan Peele. The movie was released in 2017, so it's still current and it's still in theaters. Uh, I would I wouldn't dub the movie as satirical comedy slash horror. I would kind of put the title, if it had to be in any genre, I would kind of say it was a mystery thriller because it did keep you on the edge of your seat from the beginning. It kept you interested from the beginning. It was a roller coaster ride through each of the events. It held your attention, and the ending was um, it was climactic, to say the least, and it just didn't disappoint me. I thought that he did a brilliant job of introducing very thought-provoking material in such a way that after you see the movie, it stays with you, and you are constantly thinking about little elements in the movie that meant more than one or two things on a personal level, on a very personal level, especially to black people that see the movie, living the black experience here in the United States. So, and I'm sure abroad as well, but definitely in the United States. Um, when it first starts out, what intrigued me was that the cinematography was excellent. It was uh, in muted lighting, and there was a lot of blurred lines, and you kind of get the feel that the picture is out of focus, and you're wondering, is the screen not in focus? Is something wrong with the projector? Or what's wrong with my vision? And then there's a clicking sound that begins, and it's almost like it makes you feel like you're in the chair at the optometrist's office, and the clicking sounds that the lens make as they're trying to get your vision to come into better focus. That's more or less like what he does with the intro to the movie. There's a clicking sound, it's out of focus, and then as you continue hearing the clicking, the words begin to come into focus, and the first name you see on the screen is Jordan Peele, who is the writer and the producer. Then they go to like a musical intro, and you see a you don't see her face, but you see a black woman's pregnant belly exposed, and you see them in the backdrop of a project, a housing project. And then the first scene immediately goes to a black man walking on a suburban street late at night, and he's talking on a cell phone, and he is trying to get directions from whoever it is that he's speaking on the phone with, and something apparently creeps him out or whatever. Anyway, he decides whatever this location is that he was trying to find isn't that important, and he's going to turn around and, I guess, go back home. And in the interim of doing that, a white car pulls up, and he's like, oh, hell no, I don't feel like this tonight. So he does turn around, and then it shows you a shot where the car has stopped and the door is open, and someone comes from behind him, and I don't know what they do to him. I don't know if they press a nerve or if they inject him with a sedative or what, but they show his legs stiffen and his body goes limp, and they take this brother in the car, and he is a missing person. So that is the beginning of the film, and then it leaves you a little creeped out, and you're wondering, oh, okay, this is kind of a scary movie with the lighting and everything. But then all of a sudden it clears up, and the first scene is of the interracial couple at his apartment, and they're preparing to go away for a weekend. And apparently she notices that there's something wrong with his body language. She asks him what's on his mind, what's wrong, and he comes out and he asks her, do they know I'm black? And she says no, should they? And the conversation progresses to a point where she calms down his fears. She reassures him her parents, her family is not racist, and they head on their way there. While they're in the car, he's having a conversation with his best boy, his best friend, who happens to be a TSA agent, and he doesn't feel like it's wise for his buddy to be going away to meet this white girl's parents. So he is making that known from jump, that he does not feel the brother should be traveling to this distant place, to up in the hills to see, out in the woods to see this girl's family or meet her parents. And some other events take place, and they hit an animal, and Chris, the main character, once he finds out what they hit on the road, when he sees it, he makes a deep connection with this particular animal, and it takes him back to some experiences that he had when he was a child, but the movie doesn't convey that yet. It just shows him like his mood change, and he goes into like a little reflective kind of mood, and he's sitting on the hood of the car, and the girl is giving the information to the police, and before he wraps everything up, he decides to ask the brother, for his identification. Well, he's sitting at the front of the car. He wasn't driving the car. So the white girl steps in, and she's like, he had nothing to do with this. I'm driving. And the police says, well, in routine accidents like this, and she says, bullshit. She just interrupted him, cut him off, and told him, that's some BS. And he stares at her, but eventually he just lets it go. And most black people already know that would have been a confrontation had a male or female, being black, spoke to him in that way, in that tone, or whatever. And so in the very beginning, the movie already begins to show you the varying degrees in which people respond to different races and to each other as the same race of people from Jump Street. So it's very interesting. But what really got me was when they got back in the car and they were on the road driving forward, he turned to her and he said, that shit was hot. And she replied to him, I'm not gonna let anybody fuck with my man. And then he gives her this little goofy grin. I guess she sort of stroked his ego. And I'm pretty sure a lot of my sisters out there probably feel some type of way about that, because if you're anything like me and my girlfriends, we have all discussed that before, and I think it's being discussed among white people as well, because I have encountered several videos and also people in person, white people, who actually feel at this point, because black men are involved in so many interracial relationships with white women now, that they got this on lock. So anyway, she says that, and his ego is stroked by that. He smiles, and the journey continues. Once they reach her parents' home, there's one scene in the beginning when they're driving into the driveway where there's a man that's standing off, and they get one half of his body, and he's watching them as they enter into the driveway, get out of the house, and go inside. And that kind of creepy. So you're expecting something totally different to happen, to transpire in the movie than it does. Maybe some head chopping, or some blood sucking and the vampire kind of activity in the movie at night, or some strange man picking people off. But that doesn't happen. Suffice to say that as they get inside and he meets her parents, they are jovial, they're friendly. Father has a sense of humor and even makes a couple of offhanded statements like, it's good you hit that deer. They're getting too plentiful. They're almost like rats now. They're reproducing at such a fast pace that they're threatening the ecological system. There are racial undertones and overtones throughout the entire movie that you can't do anything but stop and really think about what was said and what was done. I don't care if you're black or white. It's the way that he blends each provocative issue and threads it throughout the fabric of the entire movie until the end. And so when he says that, the mother and the girlfriend tell him, that's not a nice thing to say, so they let that go. And I don't want to give away all of the spoilers, but I will say that each scene in the movie has some little gem in it, whether he chooses to magnify it to such a point that it is glaring at you and it is hidden in plain sight and you can't help but see it, or whether he is subtle in his approach to deliver that gem to you. I think that it's opened up a lot of great conversation. I don't know whether between the races, but I definitely know amongst my brothers and sisters, it has opened up it's opened a door. It's given us an opportunity to really investigate how we're feeling about some of the situations that we're being put in as black Americans, some of the things that we're experiencing now watching immigrants, and especially Latinos and some Muslim immigrants go through the things that they're going through under this current administration. And it allows you to not only take a look into racism from a personal point of view, but to be able to look at it from a very objective point of view and to have a different perception and perspective on why people behave and think the way that they do. the one thing that he did make clear in this film that I really, really, really liked when all was said and done, it was hinted at throughout the movie, but what was made clear in the end was that black people, in terms of our color, the melanin in our skin, that is a jewel. It's a blessing. It's a gem. But our mental, our physical, the athleticism, the movement, the rhythm, the strength of our bodies, the beauty of our bodies, um, just the artisticness, the creativity, uh, everything about us, the coolness, um, the fact that we are directly connected to the Creator, uh, all of the aspects of being black has an impact on white people that we ourselves as a people don't really, I think, realize, because we're so busy, a lot of us, trying to assimilate and to be more like them, that we don't realize that they are trying to be us. And that was the thing at the end of the movie that I think was really made very clear. And so I'm sure that there are a lot of white people who see this film that are either outraged by it, offended by it, but that is the mark of a good artist, when your work can stir controversy and discussion and outrage, and it's not just pushed aside or swept under a rug. And he definitely achieved that with this piece of work that he's done. So, as I said, I don't want to give away all of the gems, but another one of my very favorite parts was when he knew in his gut all along that something was not right there at that house and with those people and throughout the entire weekend, and yet it was never quite enough because he loved her so much, or he was so enamored by her, that he just did not have the wherewithal to leave on his own. And there was that one conscious friend that knew from the beginning that something wasn't right, and even though he sounded like he was the fanatical conspiracy theory type of friend, he turned out to be the one that was awake. And it highlighted even more so the fact that, a lot of times we know within our spirit, within our gut, what we feel and what is truth, and we will ignore those signs and those utterings that come from deep within our spirit, to pacify or to go along or go with the flow of whatever program we're in at the moment. And that was like, that point was made um, very clear as well in the movie, because as I stated, he knew from the beginning that there were red flags and that something wasn't right with them, but because he wanted to appease her, I guess, and because of his childhood issues and him not really trusting or being able to open up to anybody before his encounter with her, he felt like he could trust her. And definitely she misused and abused that trust, but what else was new? So when he gets to this position where he's meeting these people that have been invited to come to their home, they said it's an annual event that takes place every year, and they just so happen to be visiting at this particular time of year that they have the event. The way that the people were gathering around and all knew who he was prior to, being really introduced to him officially, would have been another red flag for me, and I'm sure that he felt it. But one of the things that really threw me off too was how it had a slavery auction block type of feel, uh, to the scene where the people were coming up and feeling on this man's muscles and making comments about, his physical body and his prowess and asking her if he's better, I guess in bed, and all the little stereotypical curiosities that people have about race. And it reminded me of that, of our ancestors standing on auction blocks, having their teeth and tongue and their penis and body parts evaluated and stretched open and looked at, and it gave you that feel. So I can also attest to the fact that there are portions throughout the film that are very visceral for those of us who are awake or who do know your history and are very in tune to the events that have taken place possibly within your own lifetime as well. It's not always black history. Sometimes it is present day. It is happening as we speak. And there are some people that acknowledge that, and then there are those people that are still asleep to the point of almost being comatose. And then there are those people who are like the Walking Dead. They have their eyes open, but they have no perspective when it comes to being black and living the black experience, and they have totally escaped the realities. They are truly in what the mother, who is a psychologist who specializes in hypnotherapy, calls the sunken place. They are in that place where consciousness has been drained from their mind and body, and they are operating on a lower frequency because they have allowed society's pressures, and what society or these secret society groups dictate to them, whether it be on TV, through advertisement. What they basically allow society to tell them what to wear, what to eat, what to drink, how to act, how to assimilate, how to be more white, how to buy more products, how to, what cars to buy, what kind of home to buy. It's like you have to get to a point to where you are being brainwashed, and at what point do you stop and begin to think independently and on your own? And until you get to that point where you realize you're not the one controlling you, you're being manipulated and influenced, then you're pretty much brain dead. You're pretty much whitewashed. Your brain is whitewashed. And so that is a glaring truth that shows itself. It peeps up and stands out throughout the entirety of the movie. So anyway, at the end, towards the end, even though he's been denying this, and his TSA buddy has confirmed with him that one of the guys he has seen there on the property that weekend is also someone that they knew in the Bronx that is missing, and no one has been able to locate or identify him, that it has to be him. Once they realize that, it is him, and Chris runs into this box in a little closet that is, I guess it's in his girlfriend's bedroom. And when he opens the box, takes the lid off of this red box, and inside, encased inside, are all of these photos of his girlfriend Rose with a variety of dark-skinned, fine brothers other than him. So he has a moment of reckoning that he is not the only one, that she has been basically procuring black men for whatever their purpose is. And then he remembers, I think, that her father also asked him in another setting, what was his purpose. So it all comes together to, for him at the end, and he realizes I've got to get out of this place, and so he's trying to, or he's readying himself to make an escape. And when he does, his girlfriend makes sure that she keeps him from doing that, or she starts trying to block him from doing that, because they do have a purpose for him, for Chris, just as they did each one of those males in the pictures that she had hidden away in the box. And another thing that I noticed too that was really interesting was when she was on the computer while he was talking to his friend, or he was out, no, I think he was talking to his friend, on the back wall, no, it was when he was in captivity. She thought the job was being done. She was on the computer and she had earbuds in her ears. And for those of you who have seen the movie, did you notice on the wall behind her, which would be the wall above her bed, she had framed photos, I guess, of her favorite black men, the guys that she were her favorites, or that were the finest, or whatever. If you go see the movie again, or if you get a chance to see the movie a second time, let me know if you noticed that she had like a shrine of men that she had helped to procure. So yeah, that was interesting. And then also when he began to make his escape, what I thought was really good was when when they did capture him, he had to fight his way through not being captured, but they did eventually get the better of him. And when he woke up, he was seated in a chair with his hands and his feet strapped, and his hands were strapped with a leather strap type of contraption, and he was facing a wall with a taxidermied deer head on it. And so there is a lot of symbolism around that deer, the comments that her father made about deer, and the connection with his mother and his childhood, and the roadside kill. All of that is kind of tied in. There's a lot of symbolism there. And when he wakes up, he's looking at that deer head, and there's a TV sitting in the middle of the room. And I've looked at a picture that I've seen since I watched the movie the second time, and I don't know what significance it has to a secret society, but there are two poles that are sitting on each end of the chair, and it has like a dartboard or something behind those two columns. And somebody mentioned in one of my discussions with a friend that has some relevance or something to one of the secret societies. But anyway, he wakes up and he realizes that he's been captured and he's tied down. And then the TV comes on, and an older gentleman comes on, and he begins to explain to him that, this is what is happening to him. He's been captured, and he goes through the whole history of how this program, or this process of MK Ultra like mind control even began. And then at the end, it showed a picture of the grandfather, the grandmother, the girlfriend's mom and dad, and then her and her brother when they were very small. So that meant that it had been going on for some years. They began this experiment back before her grandparents got sick enough to die off, and had continued throughout their family. So this was a secret society, and they had grown the organization, and they were calling it the Coagula. And when you look up, I thought about blood immediately, but when you look up coagulate, you know that we have to have certain prothrombin levels in our blood in order for our blood to coagulate when we're cut. Well, coagula is a Latin word. The root word is coagulum, and it means to congeal, to drive together, and uh, to make one. And so I thought that that was kind of interesting how they named it so closely to what exactly they were doing. So the second time that he woke up, and he was, it didn't show each time, but he had to have been fighting to get free, because each time they showed him, he was digging his nails into the arms of the leather chairs, and eventually he was fighting so hard that he dug the leather down to the cotton. And there's a lot of symbolism and significance in that cotton that he's picking from the arms of each chair, from each arm of the chair that he's sitting in as well. But he wakes up, and in a moment where he's kind of coherent, he's kind of come up above from the sunken place, and the man appeared on the screen, and he is giving him each phase that they take a person through before they actually do a procedure on them. And he said phase 1 was to procure them and to bring them there. Phase 2 was mental preparation, which they had done with the hypnosis and helping the person to get used to, I guess, going into that sunken place. And then the third phase was transplantation. And so at that time they showed the actual craniotomy taking place by the father, who was a neurosurgeon, and he was going to merge the pieces of his spinal, or his central nervous system and his brains, with his pieces of his nervous system and a little small portion of his brain that would allow the person to be in control of the motor skills of the body, but the person's consciousness would then become a passenger of their own body. And before he finished explaining the entire process, by that time Chris had caught on to exactly what they had been doing and what the pictures that he found in the closet meant, that this had been going on for some time, and he wasn't the first victim, that she didn't love him. And then he saw, like, you see your life flash before your eyes. He saw the accident, he saw his mother, he saw himself as a child, he saw the housekeeper, and many other elements or scenes that took place in the movie that I guess didn't sit well with his spirit, but he tried to ignore, and it resurfaced in his consciousness before they were getting ready to cart him off to do the transplantation. And I guess that is where he got the will to really raise his level of consciousness and come out of it and fight it. And when the son came in to transport him into surgery, he knocked him out. He murdered the father with the deer antlers that were on the wall. I guess they had this place set up somewhere upstairs in their home, because it looked like he came from upstairs to the downstairs level, and he found her mother there. And when he saw her mom, he saw the tool that she had used, which, if you've seen the movie, is a teacup and a spoon. And they both spied the cup, and it was at a distance from both of them. So he had to get to the cup and destroy it before she did. Otherwise, she would have been able to and had the power to put him back under hypnosis. So he shattered the cup, so he got rid of her mom. And, eventually the brother resurfaced. He had to fight his way, and he got to the outside and was making a getaway when Rose, or not Rose, the maid, and I think her name was Georgina, ran in front of the car, and he hit her. And so in hitting her, he had to stop, and he thought he killed her, I think, and he got out and he put her in the car with him, which was wrong. It was a bad move. But when he made that impact, it jarred Rose, and she must have heard it or felt it, even though she had the earplugs in, and she pulled them out, and she got the gun, and she went looking to see what happened. And I guess she saw the carnage of her family members, and that drove her mad, and she went out looking in search of this brother, and their paths crossed again. And at this point in the movie, she had been doing this for years. She had been raised doing this, so it was nothing but routine for her. And so she was trying to kill him, and he was basically trying to survive. And a happy ending, and also a very climactic ending, was that, before she could shoot him, she was shot. And him and his boy rode on off, and the TSA agent handled his business, and it was the end of the movie. But what I found to be interesting also is that before they cut away to the credits, the girlfriend was lying on the ground, and before she died, he had his hands around her neck, and he was going to strangle her. But when she said, I love you, don't kill me," I guess he just did not have what it took. His love for her was stronger than his hate for her and what she had done. And so he released the hold that he had on her neck, and he just left her there to die. But once they left the scene, it goes back and it shows you where Rose is still breathing and her eyes are still open. So I'm wondering if Mr. Peele is planning a part 2 to Get Out, if she's going to survive or what. But she acknowledges before she gets to this state of being near death that the housekeeper and the gardener are her grandmother and her grandfather. So again, that's how far back they had been performing this ritual. And it just really raises a lot of subject matter regarding blood sacrifices, MK Ultra, mind control, and all of that. So if you have not seen this movie, go see it. I urge you. And if you have seen it, give me a like, give me some feedback, hit the subscribe button, and make sure that you share your opinions and your views with somebody else if you have seen the movie. It is worthy of discussing, talking about, because whether we want to believe it or not, it's happening all around us, in different forms, in all shapes, forms, and fashions. It's happening to us. We definitely are living somewhat in the Matrix. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully you have seen it. And I was refreshed. It was refreshing to finally see something that wasn't uh, so comedic that it was debasing, or to have a male dressed as a female, like in a lot of the Tyler Perry movies, but just a twist and uh, a twist on the usual, and as I said before, something that is visceral and thought-provoking and effective. He did all of that in this film for me, and so I'll be looking and following his work from here on in, and I hope that you got something from this video, and if you did see it, I hope you could identify with some of the things that I pointed out, and hope that you go and see it and maybe share some of the thoughts that you had, or some of the feelings that you felt when you saw the movie. And so I will wish you a good day, and God bless you, and remember to stay in peace, not pieces. Talk to you later.